Galileo Galilei, the father of modern astronomy, had an unusual side hustle. While he is best known for his groundbreaking work in astronomy, his contributions to science were not limited to just observing the stars and planets. Galileo had a keen interest in many fields, including physics, mathematics, and even the art of winemaking. He wasn't just peering at the heavens, he was judging wine. Yes, you heard that right. Galileo, the man who revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos, also had a refined palate for wine. He would often be found sampling different varieties, assessing their quality with the same meticulous attention to detail that he applied to his scientific observations. Imagine him, telescope by day, wine glass by night. This duality in his interests paints a fascinating picture of a man who was not only a brilliant scientist but also a connoisseur of life's finer pleasures. His love for wine was not just a hobby, it was a testament to his broader curiosity about the world and its many wonders. This seemingly trivial detail hints at a larger truth. Galileo was a man of diverse passions, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the world around him. His interests were not confined to the laboratory or the observatory. They extended to the vineyards and the wine cellars, where he applied the same rigorous standards of observation and analysis. This curiosity would eventually lead him into a clash with the most powerful institution of his time, the Catholic Church. Galileo's scientific inquiries and his willingness to question established beliefs put him at odds with the Church, which held significant sway over intellectual and cultural life during the Renaissance. Galileo's world was one where the Earth stood still at the center of the universe, and the sun, moon, and stars revolved around it. This geocentric model was deeply ingrained in the collective consciousness of the time, supported not only by the Church but also by centuries of tradition and scholarly thought. This geocentric model, supported by the Church, was more than just a scientific theory. It was a matter of faith, deeply intertwined with scripture and tradition. Challenging this model was not merely a scientific endeavor, it was a direct confrontation with the religious and cultural authorities of the day. But Galileo, armed with his telescope and his intellect, was about to challenge this deeply held belief, setting the stage for a showdown between science and faith. His observations and discoveries would not only revolutionize astronomy, but also ignite a broader debate about the nature of knowledge and the role of science in society. The year is 1610, a time when the world was on the brink of a scientific revolution that would forever change our understanding of the cosmos. Galileo Galilei, an Italian polymath, points his newly constructed telescope towards the heavens. This simple act would lead to discoveries that would challenge the very fabric of established knowledge. With meticulous care, Galileo makes a series of groundbreaking observations. Each night, he peers deeper into the mysteries of the universe, documenting what he sees with precision. He sees mountains and craters on the moon, a stark contrast to the previously held belief that celestial bodies were perfect and unblemished. He also spots 4 moons orbiting Jupiter, which he names the Medicean stars. Furthermore, Galileo witnesses the phases of Venus, similar to those of the moon, providing crucial evidence that Venus orbits the sun. These discoveries send shockwaves through the scientific community and beyond. Scholars and thinkers are forced to reconsider long-held beliefs about the universe. Why? Because they provide compelling evidence for a radical new idea, the heliocentric model. This model, which places the sun at the center of the universe, was revolutionary. Proposed by Nicholas Copernicus decades earlier, the heliocentric model posited that the Earth and other planets revolve around the sun. It was a theory that had been largely dismissed by the mainstream. This model directly challenged the Church's geocentric doctrine, which placed Earth at the center of creation. The Church's teachings were deeply intertwined with the geocentric view, making Galileo's findings highly controversial. Galileo's observations were not mere abstract theories. They were tangible proof that the universe was not as the Church had taught for centuries. His work provided concrete evidence that could not be easily dismissed. The implications were profound, shaking the very foundations of religious and scientific thought. This was not just a scientific revolution, it was a paradigm shift that would alter the course of history. Galileo's telescope was more than just a scientific instrument. It was a window into a new understanding of the cosmos. Imagine the excitement, the awe, as he gazed through its lens for the first time. The moon, once a smooth celestial sphere, was revealed to be a rugged landscape of mountains and craters. Jupiter, no longer a solitary wanderer, was now a father figure orbited by 4 tiny points of light, its moons. And then there's Venus, the morning star, mimicking the phases of our own moon. This was a crucial observation. The geocentric model could not explain this phenomenon, but the heliocentric model could. Here was visual, undeniable evidence that the Earth was not the center of the universe, but just another planet dancing around the sun. The Catholic Church, the dominant force in 17th century Europe, had built its worldview on the firm foundation of geocentrism. The Earth, considered God's most important creation, held a privileged position at the heart of a universe created specifically for humanity. This belief was not just a matter of faith, it was a cornerstone of their understanding of Scripture, theology, and the very order of the cosmos. The Church had long accepted the Ptolemaic model, a geocentric system that had held sway for over 1,400 years. This model, intricately woven into the fabric of religious teachings, was more than just a scientific theory, it was an article of faith. To challenge geocentrism was to challenge the Church itself, an act not taken lightly in an era when religious authority was absolute. The year is 1633. Europe is in the throes of the scientific revolution, a period of profound change and discovery. Yet amidst this burgeoning era of knowledge, the old guard of the Church remains steadfast in its doctrines. Galileo Galilei, now an old man but with his spirit unbroken, stands accused of heresy by the Roman Inquisition. His once celebrated discoveries have now become the source of his persecution. His crime? Daring to promote the heliocentric theory, a view deemed incompatible with the Scriptures and the Church's teachings. This theory, which places the sun at the center of the universe, directly contradicts the geocentric model long upheld by the Church. The trial of Galileo is often portrayed as a defining clash between science and religion, a simplistic narrative that, while dramatic, fails to capture the full complexity of this historical event. It was not merely a battle of ideas but a confrontation of worldviews. Yes, Galileo's scientific findings challenged the Church's doctrine. His observations through the telescope revealed a universe far more vast and intricate than previously imagined. But the trial was about more than just the position of the Earth in the cosmos. It was about the very nature of truth, and who had the authority to define it. It was about authority, power, and the right to dictate truth in an era when the Church held sway over both the spiritual and intellectual realms. The Church saw Galileo's ideas as a direct threat to its control over the interpretation of the natural world. The trial was a show of force, a warning to anyone who dared to question the Church's teachings, no matter how compelling the evidence. It was a stark reminder of the lengths to which the Church would go to maintain its authority and suppress dissent. Section 6. The Defense of Reason. Standing before the Holy Office, Galileo knew the stakes were high. He argued that his findings were not meant to contradict Scripture, but to demonstrate that God's universe was grander and more awe-inspiring than previously imagined. He argued that the Bible should be interpreted metaphorically when it came to matters of science, a radical notion at the time. He presented his observations as wonders revealed by God through the gift of reason and the ingenuity of human invention. He spoke of the telescope as an instrument of divine revelation, allowing humanity to glimpse the true majesty of God's creation. However, his pleas fell on deaf ears. The Church, clinging to its traditional interpretations, saw in Galileo's ideas a threat to its authority. Section 7. The Sentence and its Shadow. The verdict came down with the weight of a gavel guilty. Galileo was forced to recant his heliocentric views, his book was banned, and he was placed under house arrest for the rest of his life. The image of this aging scholar, forced to renounce his life's work, is a stark reminder of the power of dogma over reason. The trial sent a chilling message throughout Europe: challenge the Church's teachings at your peril. The consequences of Galileo's trial for the development of science are often debated. Some argue that it stifled scientific inquiry in Catholic countries, while others maintain that it ultimately led to a greater separation between the realms of science and faith. Section 8. The Unintended Legacy. Ironically, the Church's attempt to silence Galileo only amplified his ideas. His books, smuggled out of Italy, were translated and circulated widely, sparking debate and discussion across Europe. Galileo became a symbol of intellectual courage, of the importance of following the evidence wherever it may lead, even in the face of opposition. The trial served as a catalyst for the Enlightenment, an era that championed reason, observation, and the scientific method. It forced a reassessment of the relationship between science and faith, paving the way for a world where scientific inquiry could flourish without fear of religious persecution. Section 9. An enduring tension. The trial of Galileo remains a potent reminder of the complex and often fraught relationship between science and faith. It highlights the importance of critical thinking, the power of evidence-based reasoning, and the need for open dialogue between different ways of understanding the universe. While the Church eventually acknowledged its error in condemning Galileo, centuries later in 1992, the trial continues to spark debate and discussion. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of dogma and the importance of intellectual freedom in the pursuit of truth, whether it lies in the pages of Scripture or the depths of space.